does make life worth living, what makes a great life. Like everything that everyone remembers are these moments that we share with the people that we love in the real world. Like it's not the doom scrolling on Instagram. It's not that Netflix show, as much as I love a Netflix binge as much as the next person. Like it is those moments we were talking before, like that we get to share with a group of people that we're surrounded by. And so I wanted my career to try and drive as many of those experiences we possibly could.
Welcome back to the Fitt Insider Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Veneri. Today I'm joined by Sam Browne, co-founder and CEO of Let's Do This. In this episode, we discuss building an online platform that gets people together offline. Sam shares how the company partners with some of the world's largest marathons and endurance events, and why mass participation sports are more important than ever. Plus, we talk about the future of human connection in an AI-driven world, scaling global experiences, and why shared challenges might be the antidote to loneliness. Let's get into it. The Fitt Insider Podcast is presented by EGYM. EGYM's smart fitness ecosystem is transforming healthcare through exercise. Combining strength equipment with AI-powered software and corporate wellness platform WellPass, it's leading the shift to proactive preventative health. Learn more about EGYM's intelligent workout solutions at egym.com. Hi, Sam. Welcome to Fitt Insider. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Joe. It's awesome to be here.
Yeah, man. I'm excited to chat. We were talking a little bit offline, a long time coming. I've certainly been following what you're building, and I think it's a really exciting time for anything, events offline, human connection related. But for folks who aren't familiar, why don't you just tell us about yourself and let's do this?
Yeah, and very excited to make it out of the group chat after this number of years. So thanks so much for taking the time to listen. My name's Sam. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Let's Do This. We're the online company that's trying to get everyone together offline. We believe that life is all about the moments that you share in the real world with people that you love. And we are so proud to partner with some of the greatest experiences across the world, the largest marathon, half marathon, 10K and 5K now, to try and inspire as many people to have life-changing opportunities as possible. Pretty focused on mass participation sports right now. So running, triathlons, cycling, which is my life passion as well, which is great. But also looking to further experiences and expansions beyond that in the future.
Yeah, I kind of alluded to this, like super well timed, right? There's no shortage of conversations about like, hey, how do we get people to connect in person? And what does that engagement look like? And oh, by the way, if they are being physically active and not being sedentary, that's also a hugely beneficial thing. But look, that you guys aren't new to this game. Just for context, like when did you start? What did that initially look like? And maybe how has it evolved?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's sort of funny, the super well timed, because I feel like there's been moments of the journey where I felt like, oh my God, we're so lucky and so at times. And then there's been other journeys where I was like, this is horrendous and completely awful. So it's funny how it goes in swings and roundabouts. I think the earliest version of really what we do started when I was a kid. So when I was like 12, 13, super passionate cross-country runner, like I'm sure loads of the community. And yeah, my entire life was really around running. And then I got super sick and I was having like 8 fits a day at one stage, which was pretty inconvenient for me, but pretty horrendous for my parents. And had that like moment that I think a lot of people have had, where you get that news that things probably aren't going to get better and they're not going to move in the right direction. For me, they did. My mum was incredibly amazing and sort of, my family were just relentless in finding, it turned out to be a specialist in Australia, which helped me. And for those who are trying to discern my accent, I'm from the UK. But I really read so much, like so many biographies and eulogies and all of the darker materials that you read at that point of life, trying to understand like what does make life worth living, what makes a great life. And everything which came through, like everything that everyone remembers are these moments that we share with the people that we love in the real world. Like it's not the doom scrolling on Instagram. It's not that Netflix show, as much as I love a Netflix binge as much as the next person. Like it is those moments we were talking before, like that we get to share with a group of people that we're surrounded by. And so I wanted my career to try and drive as many of those experiences we possibly could. I tried to get back to being an athlete, and as with many things in my life, I spectacularly lacked talent. So was never going to make it at a particularly high level. But when I left Cambridge, I started a race series. And similarly to the dawn of Fitt, prior to Fitt Insider, we saw that one particular platform that will remain nameless now, for the sake of liability. But I think a lot of the community will know was dominant, despite we didn't think being very good. And we thought that these incredible experiences deserved better technology. And so, along with my far superior in every way co-founder Alex, we got together and started the company, as you say, a while ago now, in end of 2017, and then kind of really got going on YC in 2018. But that was the journey to the start line.
Yeah, there's certainly the company that shall remain nameless. That, just when you look across the landscape, nonetheless, like, okay, how are people discovering, sharing, signing up for all these different types of races and events? And definitely don't want to co-opt the conversation and make this about Fitt in the prior incarnation, but like, our kind of view was, we'll do it through content. So we had, 600 contributors on the ground in 30 cities around the world, really, who were creating content about, hey, where's the best place to do an X, Y, and Z, or where can you meet up, or what types of run groups exist here. And we're taking this very long tail way of getting there, because it is ultimately, like, in part, like a discovery problem, then a technology problem, then a payments problem. Like, there's so many layers to doing this. Like, okay, we got them to the place in real life that now the magic can happen. So it's almost like you're solving a myriad of different problems. Like, I guess the short version is like, how do you do it? Like, so what is your approach to saying, like, this is how we streamline or simplify all of that other stuff so that we can get people to go and enjoy the thing that they're ultimately trying to do?
Yeah, I think you've just summarized 5 years of pain in 3 sentences. So we had this amazing early investor called Pete Flint, who was the founder and CEO of Trelia, and we owe so much to. And he always spoke to us about growth as layering on S curves. So super hard to make any channel start to work. Super fun when it is working, but then you have to be terrified because it's going to stop working at some point quite soon, and you need to start working on the next one. And literally, you perfectly verbatim laid out what we went through, which was, we started off with content, with SEO. Like, how do you try and get like that early traction? We tried to encourage a couple of big organizers to trust us with their technology, and they told us, like, who the hell are you, and leave us alone and stop turning up in my office. And so we wanted to show that we could drive some traffic, and we could try and drive volume and really get through that and do that successfully. And then we really moved on to, like, okay, well, how can we start providing like more value and be more integrated? How can we sort of like do more on the checkout and make sure that's like a better experience, sort of focus on conversion rate, and how can you sort of like really find optimization levels. And then as you start doing that, then the sort of tool set starts expanding, and you start looking at how can we really transform what an organizer can do in loads of different ways. But I think what's been so exciting now has been that fundamental playbook has completely shifted with AI. Like, the way that people interact with ticketers or marketplace or anything, like, hasn't fundamentally changed since like the late 90s. Like, it's sort of, yeah, Airbnb looks more beautiful, like this kind of stuff, but basically it's the same. And there will be loads of people screaming into their Spotify's. But I think there is a fundamental truth to it. Whereas now with AI, suddenly all bets are off, and suddenly what agents can do and the interactions from an agentic point of view has completely changed and completely rewritten the rulebook. And in some ways, it's the most exciting time I think we've ever had as a company, because you perfectly summarized our playbook and how it went through. And it was kind of like, yes, there's unique bits, but it was the standard playbook. Whereas now it's suddenly like, oh, okay, like, what is this new reality? What does this new world look like? What's going to be important? What's going to get consumed by models? And so, yeah, now is really the first time where we're really able to, I think truly innovate on what the future of the experience is going to be like.
I guess without giving away too much of the secret sauce or the inner workings, can you just talk about practically what that looks like? Because even myself, it's, a lot of times I'm scrolling when I shouldn't be scrolling, but, consuming content and feeling like I'm behind. I'm behind the curve in terms of the latest technology, in terms of what's possible with AI and agents and automation. And I'm constantly looking for ways to, not only in business, but even, other areas of my life. Like, how do I solve some of these redundant, recurring problems? Like, have you been able to implement anything at scale? Is how is that, tracking towards any type of business outcome? And like, what do you think that means going forward?
Yeah, so the first point is that how you feel, I think, is how the entire world feels. Like Sam Altman was running YC when we were doing that, and I pursued him down when we were getting on it. And Paul Graham, who's been a huge influence for us and has been amazing, like they're saying like we can't stay on top of it. We can, like we don't know. So I think we're all feeling that. So that should be getting comfortable with that feeling. I think should be fine. As far as like practical implementations and business outcomes, it's massively changed in the last, like, I would say 5-6 months for us, where it's gone from being this really exciting tool set that we could use, particularly internally, to just being able to automate huge swathes of what an organizer does and what an organizer can do. And I mean, as a sort of case study point, we have this amazing organizer in a lot of our sort of focus and growth has been in the US, and we're sort of a majority US company now. And we've got an organizer that's run it's amazing called Alexa, run almost 15,000 person race called Boulderthon this year. She's the single only employee. Like she's literally running the entire thing with various different agents across the Let's Do This platform, from like integrations with management of all the customer service and the athlete, like, and thinking about customer service not really as this thing which asymptotes, but actually how can you have, it's the extension of marketing. It's no longer about segmentation now. It's like individualized, personalized athlete journeys where you can trigger really that flow to go through, but then also onto things like data analytics and insights. For so many of these races and so many experiences, they're always like, how am I performing against the rest of the market? Like, what's happening? We can now have agents constantly analyzing, constantly judging what is going on across different organizers, marketing campaigns, CRM campaigns, conversion rates through flows, and then be making these integrations and making these optimizations themselves. So yeah, it's not a matter of secret sauce. It's a matter of how quickly can you aggregate disparate data sets that are interconnected and turn that into actionable insights, which either the organizer can be driving and taking, or that the machine can be going and doing and implementing. And so as far as business outcomes, we only launched in the US properly at the start of sort of two years ago now, and we already we're with some big more announcements coming in the next couple of weeks. Like we're already at over sort of 20 of the top 100 races in North America, which is sort of like the largest share of anyone in North America, when all the other platforms have been in market for sort of 17-18 years. And I think the reason for that is that I think every organization is now seeing that AI is completely changing the way that what is possible and like what they can do in terms of the experience they can give to their runners, but also like what is achievable for scale for their organization too. So it's definitely, no one feels on top of it, but there is so much opportunity, and it is production ready now. And as far as business outcomes for us, like it really has been a very major inflection point for us.
I don't want to get too far in the weeds and make the whole conversation about AI, but there's a kind of separate conversation as it relates to consumers and just culture that we'll touch on. But just one more on the, implementing this in the business, and specifically as it relates to different partners and race organizers. I've thought about this a bunch, specifically, in terms of kind of wearables and health data and tracking. It's like everything AI powered and AI powered insights and personalization. And this, it's like, you know what? I really don't care that it's AI powered. And I really don't care that, how it's like, is it helping me do the thing that I want to do? And is it delivering those outcomes? And I'm sure with race organizers, the last thing that they want to do is, oh, this is AI, this or that, and buzzwords. And it's like, is it helping me earn more money? Is it helping me get more signups? Is it whatever? How much of it is education and how much of it is just incumbent upon you to make it so simple that it just works for them versus trying to teach them what it is that's happening, or how to use a certain tool or product?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I totally agree that it's like it is .com-y in the way that like, oh, like it's internet is like, yeah, everything's the internet, like everything's AI, and like it's just sort of the part of the way that these applications work. I think two things that are proving really important. One is that like as for your community and your audience, and for those of us who are working in tech companies, where we've gone through a bunch of the stages of grief over the last sort of like a lot of the fear we've processed over the last like 2-3 years, and we've suddenly seen that actually like the opportunity on the other side of this is massive. Like we definitely went through that whole experience of being like, oh my god, like Devon is getting is getting so good that you could just replace this in a heartbeat, and then you suddenly see that like no, actually the power that you can get from the speed at which you can iterate based on this technology is so fast that like that is your core competency. It isn't this sort of static tech stack that it might have been a long time ago. And I think there's this great quote which is that like anything which has incredibly high margins and is incredibly repeatable, like you can't like is always going to be open to that like replicatable point. So like you have to be able to move quickly. So when it comes on to like the job that I see us doing for the industry, it is trying to educate and take on the journey organizations that are like very different to the tech companies that are trying to serve them. Like the tech companies that are trying to serve them tend to be like very urban, like young, like very high tech. A lot of organizers are a pretty different demographic to that. And so a lot of it is around providing products which are so simple and so straightforward to use that they just happen in the background. But there are also new interfaces to adapt to. Like we use Claude the whole time for everything internally. And that chat interface, I think everything will disappear, or lots of things will disappear behind. You talked about all of your usage and wearable data. I'm a Whoop advocate, I think, as seemingly every single person who's ever come on your podcast is, which is kudos to Will. But I think like that interface you can see disappearing into wherever you exist, whether it's in your WhatsApps or whether it's your messages or whatever. You will have this like just consistent life coach, which is feeding from all of these insights and feeding from all these different areas and synthesizing different parts of data. And the actual interface itself may well sort of drift off into the background. I think that will happen with Let's Do This for sure. Like we're already seeing the amount of usage of our sort of like core organizers that are still sort of like clicking around in the platform and like pulling this report from here and going and manually loading this from there and that kind of stuff. Like that is very quickly being consumed by, I want to understand about this demographic across these different races, and I want a report which I can then pull into and integrate into my marketing suite to be able to do some different messaging in. Like that would have been, I don't know, 30 clicks and maybe take 20 minutes. Like now it's free text search based upon like a lot of prompt engineering, a lot of agents that we've built around it, and can be done in 10 seconds. So the job is definitely to educate. The job is definitely to support. But there is like, and the job is definitely to build technology that is so good and is so beautiful that it disappears. We talk a lot about like great tech should be like your favorite pair of training trainers. Like that like you just don't notice they're there. Like, yeah, you want to have your springy race shoes which feel great on race day, but like when you're just training, you don't want to notice your sneakers. You just want them to disappear into the background, and that's what great technology should do. But with this shift, there is a change of interface, and so it's not just a case of saying sort of like of integrating it into sort of core flows and core products. There are active differences of the UX that you can build, and that does require education and support and building of trust into those services.
This episode of the Fitt Insider Podcast is brought to you by EGYM. EGYM makes some of the most innovative strength training machines on the market, but that's only one part of their integrated ecosystem. With connected fitness equipment, AI-powered gym software, and a comprehensive corporate wellness offering, it's forging the future of preventative health. Partnering with companies worldwide, EGYM's WellPass program improves employee health by expanding access to premier fitness and health facilities. Upgrading gym floors, EGYM equips every operator with smart equipment and AI tools to create hyper-personalized training plans for every exerciser. Putting it all together, they're transforming healthcare through exercise. Experience the power of EGYM's ecosystem at egym.com. For sure. I think that's all super insightful. And one of many things now, just talk about being behind. Like on the other side of that, the optimistic side is starting to see all of this technology reach an inflection point where it does enable, we think of our role in the landscape as helping operators achieve their goals. So on the other side of that, more people live a healthier lifestyle. And so when you see things where in real time almost, you're like, oh, this is working. This is like a dramatic in front of your face, like no questions asked shift that if you're able to implement this and then race directors are able to do what they're doing and then they reach more consumers and signups, it's like very quickly that accelerates in a way where, previously, especially you talk about, even years ago as you're getting started, like, oh man, it's such a slog. And like, what do those breakthroughs look like? This is tangibly, realistically happening.
1,000,000%. We've been in this game for like a while now. We've spent a lot of venture capital cash. We've spent thousands and thousands and thousands of engineering hours on this. Like, we've never had something like this where you just look at the rate at which you can expand the impact that you want to have on millions of people's lives, and it can happen so quickly. One of the things that we talk a lot about with the future is that AI is going to mean that the number of hours of meaningful work done by humanity will drop for the vast majority of people. There will have to be universal basic income or increasingly being spoken of like high income, not even just basic. And I think there are three realities which could manifest. Like, one is that we all end up in the matrix or the metaverse and we're all sort of like plugged in to keep us quiet and happy. One is that there's huge social unrest and people on the streets and there's carnage. And one is that there is this second renaissance and people are finding meaning and purpose in experiences and sharing like the moments with all those people they care about most. And like, I mean, God, all of us want that number three to be the reality. And for everyone who says, oh, we don't need more run clubs, we don't need more marathons, like, it's just rubbish. Like, we need like 100 times more than we have now. I mean, like, we power all of the tickets for the London Marathon, and like we did 1.15 million applications this year. We would have done more. I think and that was in 3-4 days. We would have done more. Like, the desire for these experiences is huge. And if you continue that point to think about, well, if there's less meaningful work done, work fulfills a huge amount of meaning and purpose for a lot of our lives. Like, everyone listening, like, work will provide a lot of that meaning and purpose. If that goes away for a lot of people, like, what are we replacing it with? Like, how do we still have like meaningful, purposeful lives? Like, yes, religion is going to be on the rise, and we're already seeing that amongst Gen Z. Like, that's going to come through. But like, cardio is the new religion. Like, that is the religion. Like, you go to your spin class and like, it is a religious experience. Like, you go and run your marathon, it is the meaning and purpose. And so I think there will be this like explosion of like demand and continued explosion of demand for these races. And will we see the same growth rates over the next 2-3 years? Like, probably not, because everything ebbs and flows a bit. And like, but the reason we won't is because we have an absence of premium supply. Like, we need more great experiences. And if we can be this superpower partner to the greatest experiences in the world, and if we can encourage them and inspire them to put on more experiences, to grow their races, to grow their events, to scale more, like, that is the meaning and purpose that we can provide for what can be quite a scary future, but what can also be like an insanely inspiring like future for our kids' generation. And yeah, that's what we come to work every day to try and achieve.
Not to be too existential in what's the future of everything and what does it mean, and potentially outcomes that we don't, or I'll just speak for myself personally, don't want to see happen. But do you, if it's like a 1 in 3 chance, if we're just going by those paths, that we end up in a place where there's abundance and experiences and human connection, and we're replacing our work time with more meaning, are you actively, do you think about now, like, okay, how do you combat the other two paths from coming into play? Because, in a world where you live in a metaverse, for example, it's like, well, if you've ever seen Wall-E, it's like people aren't unplugging from their machine to, or the Matrix, like to go to a run group. So then there's bigger problems than let's do this doesn't exist. But in general, do you mitigate that at all, or do you just, let things play out and run as fast as you can towards the third outcome?
I genuinely think that we are all, including everyone who listens to this podcast, like in a fight for the future that we want to see. And like we tried this experiment, like we tried it in COVID, and the mental health outcomes for the people who were plugged in all day and were sort of doing that compared to the people who got their trainers on and got out there. Like that is why we're seeing this running boom now. It's like it is. I am also a huge believer in therapy, and it's something that I've been super privileged to be able to do for a long period of time. But like running is like, I think brilliant it's the most brilliant natural therapy that exists out there. And I think we are going to like, I don't think there's anyone who doesn't think we're going to have monstrous levels of challenges. I think this is the greatest innovation humanity has ever come up with. But it is also like happening so quickly and so fast, and we're so not prepared, and we so don't have the leaders who are showing any foresight into try and like head off some of these challenges. And that means that we are all individually, as people who are fortunate and have privilege and have the opportunity to fight for the future that we want to have for our children. Like we are in a fight, and in response, like, are we doing anything to mitigate those other two? Like, I think offense is always the best form of defense. It's like, how can we bring these experiences to more people? Like, how can we inspire more people to taste that first version? Like, the biggest thing that we believe is true about, take something specific like the registration flow. The biggest thing we think is true about, like, to go into something that minute, is that like experience registration was always built for like single players. Like it was always built like, oh, come on, like be the Iron Man, go and do this or whatever. Like I thought the Iron Man CEO's episode was great. Huge kudos to him. But like really the whole point of an experience is to share it. Like the whole point, like we both done loads of races. Like I go and do a race on my own, and it's like, yeah, it can still be great and it can be amazing and you can be there to do it. But like, that's not the future. We don't see that in any of the growth numbers as far as like people wanting to go and like hammer it and that kind of stuff. Like, yes, there's still that population that want to do it. Like all strength, all power to them. Great. I'm training pretty hard for London next year. Wicked. But like, all of my favorite experiences are where I shared them. I got to run New York this year with Russ Cook, hardest geezer, and like was just hammering him when he was blowing up in the last 10K, and it was wicked. It was amazing. And therefore in the registration flow, everything we're focused on is like, how can you connect to more friends? Like we worked with Diplo's run club, and it was this big thing of like, how can we just increase the number of people inspiring and inviting people around them? And the more we can do that, the more that we can each take individual responsibility, as every single person in this podcast. Like, we're recording this in January, not sure when it's going to go out, but it's a new year. I think one of the most special things you can do with your year is to inspire someone that you love to go and get out there and to go and do something amazing. And like, don't like, you can buy them a ticket, you can go with them on their first training run, you can go and say like, I'm doing this. Like, it can be an old school friend you haven't seen for 20 years. It can be someone who's just going through a divorce, is having a tough time. Like get out there and inspire someone to come with you and to come on that journey. And I think there is enough. Like, I love our community. Like, the mass participation sports community is epic. Like, you wouldn't get to do what you do without them. I wouldn't get to do what I do without them. And I really believe in us, and I believe in our communities to inspire each other to ensure that third outcome is what we achieve. Because I think it can be amazing. Like, what kid grows up and wants to be an accountant or wants to go and do one of those things? Like, but imagine if all of us like were spending our days like on incredible adventures, doing spectacular things with people that we love and that we care about. And I think if we do that, and if we all really invest in doing that together, then we'll avoid the first two less lovely outcomes.
I will here now cast my ballot for that outcome and continue to push with everything that, I have and do and think about in that direction? And if you do, right, and I'm sure you guys have thought about this endlessly over the years and continue to, but having started in that world of kind of running, cycling, multi-sport, and then now in mass participation to now where, from high rocks to adventure racing to retreats to just kind of gym competitions and fitness communities and things like that, run groups, like where to now? Like, what is it? Everything we want to be the platform and the gateway to all those things, or are you prioritizing or pursuing any one in particular? How does that evolve?
To start off with, it was very much like we want to do running mass participation in the UK. We do like almost 90% of all the applications there across sort of all the different things of everything across in the UK. Then we sort of we're like, right, I mean, again, sort of back to not the most innovative strategy ever, like one vertical, one geo, kind of did that. Now it's one vertical, multiple geos. So we started in the US, sort of significant races where we're rapidly becoming the largest platform there. We're launching in 18 different markets over the coming 12 months. So like really that international geographic rollout is really exciting and is something that is like super challenging from a like culture time. Like I've definitely found it like savagely difficult, that combination, which I've heard various of your guests talk about, like that combination of like wanting to be like there with the team in HQ, but then also be with your customers and be with people on the road and that kind of stuff. So that's been like super interesting and definitely learned a ton. I think we got it wrong twice and it's really great that it's worked. Like you said about timing, like everyone's like, oh, this is working really well now, and you're like, yeah, only because we got it wrong pretty horrendously a couple of times. But really then it is then sort of starting to look at those new verticals. I think we really want to go all in and commit completely to the verticals that we really want to serve. Like we're not as interested in this sort of like inch deep, mile wide stuff. And so what we really love is these passion driven, shared experiences, self-defining verticals. So we're super excited about things like snow and ski. We're excited about hiking and camping, sport fishing, aquatics and water sports. Like there are a bunch of these like really sort of passionate communities that haven't potentially had the best technology to be able to help them to grow and scale. And I really deeply believe that in experiences over the next 20 years, like we have a supply problem. Like we don't have a demand problem. The last 20 years we've seen, and talking about the Ironman CEO was talking about this to you like a while ago, like we've seen over the last 20 years this constant growth in experiences, like, and this choice of experience over things, like that is going to accelerate. And yet how many more things in the world are there than experiences? Like we are a world that is way oversupplied of things and way undersupplied of experiences. And I think the most meaningful thing that we can do is keep trying to be the best possible partner to experience organizers and these brilliant instigators who inspire people to come together. And so, yeah, we want to do that across future verticals too. But for now, we're very focused on running a mass participation sports globally and trying to be the best possible platform, best possible partners that we can be.
So in the near term, sounds like the kind of geographic international expansion, continuing to sign kind of these large and premier events as you do that. Anything else that we should look out for or that you're excited about?
We're really excited about expanding more the sort of focus of organizations and organizers that we're looking for. We just announced like a really big partnership with Lifetime to do some super iconic races for them, from Leadville and Sea Otter to so many other like brilliant races there. But as part of that partnership, we're really looking at sort of like more focus on like where I think we can make the biggest difference is these smaller organizations and where I think we can get the most supply on board. Because for the big organizations, like it's pretty hard to get like another New York City Marathon permit. Like that's tough. Like it's difficult to go and do that. Whereas like the lifeblood of the industry, the people who are really like promoting this, like pumping this and getting it really going, are these like more local providers. And the more that we can help, I think it was something amazing that Airbnb did, is like the more that we can help those platforms and organizers like get back to what they love, spend more time curating these experiences for their runners and for their participants, and spend less time doing this, like, and be able to replace with agents a lot more of the manual work and a lot more of the stuff they don't care about as much. So we're definitely also like expanding a lot the sort of remit of size of event. Like we feel really good about where we are from the sort of like mid-market and sort of top of the market. We really want to do more and do a better job for the long tail. So that's definitely also a big focus.
For folks, whether they want to partner, do some things you're talking about in terms of getting people out there in the world, maybe use Let's Do This, or for consumers that looking for their next challenge, their race, get out there in the world as well, where would you point folks?
Yeah, 100%. So let's do this.com. And please do join. We'll make sure straight after this goes out that we have a webinar that you can sort of join in, so we can get to meet as many people as possible. So please do go there. And then on LinkedIn and on Instagram, I'm Sam Browne with an E on the end. But other than that, hopefully fairly straightforward to spell.
For sure. We'll have everything linked up, easy to find. And Sam, so excited that you were able to join us to share this conversation, and certainly keep working with you in that kind of shared pursuit of, hey, let's make this world into the one that we want, where people are together and doing meaningful and challenging things out there in the world. So thanks for being here.
It's been such a privilege. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you got value from the conversation, please consider subscribing and sharing the podcast with a friend or colleague. It's a massive help. And if you want more content like this, including news and insights on the latest industry developments, subscribe to the Fitt Insider newsletter at insider.fit.co. And one more thing, you can learn more about our recruiting and consulting services at fit.co. That's FITT.co. I'll see you here next week.